Okay, so Dave, how did the House of Ninjas all come together? Because this is such a huge, bold, and just an amazing project. So, how did the story and the concept all come about?
Well, it all started with Kento Kaku, the lead actor. He had an idea that he wanted to revive the ninja genre, and he had two compatriots, Murao-san, who stayed on the project and directed episodes 4 and 5, and Imai-san, who's an actor, and he plays the BNM guy who never talks, the kind of pop culture expert.
Yeah.
Anyway, the three of them sort of came up with this idea to do a ninja family drama, and they took the idea to Netflix, and Netflix was into it. They wanted to do it, but they wanted to. Netflix wanted somebody to write the show Bible and kind of flesh out the world of the show, kind of come up with the engine of the story and sort of a concept that could sustain for a series. And that's when I got the call. It was just somebody I knew worked at Netflix called and asked, "Hey, are you how do you feel about ninjas?" And I was like, "Well, who doesn't love ninja stuff?" So so then from then on, I took the idea that they'd come up with, and I wrote a show Bible, and I wrote the first episode, and then as we really got along, the creative team, and Kento and I really clicked, so I stayed on longer and ended up being the director and showrunner, and was working with a team of writers in Japan to write the whole season. So that's
And
that's
how
where it all
was
started.
and how was it like watching Kento on this? Because he just has to be like a triple threat on this project, being a producer, being the main star, and then also pitching it to Netflix. I mean, just watching him act and do his thing on this had to be amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is such a dynamic and focused and just he's one of those people who can do it all, and is such he's so confident in his own taste and in his creativity, which is a great gift to a collaborator because he encouraged me and everybody else on the team to be bold and to really not go for the safe choices, and to resist the urge to explain everything, and just make this a ride that the audience could appreciate. I think that here in the States there are quite a few actors who develop their own projects. At least in the past few decades, that's a little bit that's not as common in Japan. So he's sort of a pioneer in a lot of ways, to revive that tradition in Japan. And he's sort of like how Tom Cruise shepherds that the Mission Impossible franchise through the studio system. Kento's got this as his sort of pet franchise that he's taking forward, and I think he's got a lot more tricks up his sleeve coming up.
And what I really enjoyed about House of Ninjas was the family dynamic in this. There was conflict, but it wasn't so, you know, clunky in a way that it can be corny or like, forced down to where like a lot of that family dynamic is just typical. But in House of Ninjas, there's really a lot of range and emotions that these characters are facing. So how was it like casting all of these characters as well, if you were involved in that process?
Yeah, I was involved. It's funny, the casting in Japan tends to work a lot different than it does in the States. Shows are typically cast and locked even before the scripts are written, so they're cast off of a treatment or off of a Bible or whatever. So we had to cast the main roles pretty early, so it becomes a little bit of a moving target in a way, because you don't you're still in the mode of creating the show and everything. But you know the thing that was amazing about that was miraculous about the casting process on this movie is that we literally got every single one of our first choices. So, Tai Kimura, who plays Yoko, the mom, is I think that she's one of the best directors of her or best actors of her generation worldwide anywhere, and I've been sort of following her career for a long time and hoping for a chance to work with her on something. So getting her in that role was just a huge feather in our cap. And then Nobuko Miyamoto, who plays the grandma, is an icon in Japan and also worldwide, just because of Tampopo and A Taxing Woman and all the wonderful films that she made with her husband Juzo Itami for all those years. And I just didn't
She
think
was
that
my
there was
favorite character in House of Ninja. So, sorry to cut you off, but she was
no
one of
no
my favorite House of Ninja characters in the series.
yeah, she was so great, and and just a lovely person, just wonderful to work with. And she's very choosy about the roles that she takes. And so there was a I was very, very nervous going into that first meeting to try to convince her, hey, to do this ninja show with me. But she was just wonderful, and she really took Tenta Banka, who played Riku, her grandson, under her wing to because they had so much, so many scenes together, and she was just wonderful with him. So everybody, I mean, the thing that was so cool about having a family that had so many characters in it is also each one of the characters is kind of in their own genre of movie. They each have their own storylines going, and each one of those storylines is sort of in its own little genre in a way. Like you have Riku is sort of in this really sort of very, very, very from the point of view of a child, that he's got this sort of cute little mystery going on, whereas Haru has more of a heavier hero's journey, and Yoko is in this sort of humorous sleuthy mode, undercover spy mission kind of thing going on. And so everybody kind of brings their own flavor to the show in a way that I hope people enjoy. I hope people, I wanted to give everybody somebody that they could latch onto as their favorite, and as well as have everybody's dynamics intertwine in ways that would be fun, and keep the pace up, and give us a chance to play in lots of different sandboxes at the same time. So
Right. And you did play in a lot of different sandboxes, as you just said, with this House of Ninjas series. So how was it like balancing every aspect of this to where it's not overpowering one another from scene to scene in House of Ninjas?
I mean, I think it was definitely a process of discussion with every department as well. Like, are we taking this too far? Are we taking it, because there was a real sort of razor's edge of the balance between the poignant, um, you know, kind of nostalgic family drama and the really hard hitting. We didn't want to pull too many punches with the thriller, the action aspect of it, and then also the kind of lacing it with humor the whole way through. And it's really easy to go overboard on one or any one of those. So it was a constant process of talking with my collaborators, whether it was my fellow writers or my fellow directors who took the reins during the middle episodes of the show, to make sure that we were balancing and that we were hitting the right note. And the thing is that there wasn't something else that we could necessarily point to as this is the target. We were kind of making the target as we were doing it, so it really became just a question of what does your gut tell you, and how to kind of get what we were doing closer to that tone that we're trying to imagine. Because more than forgetting all the plot mechanics and all the and all the kind of the plot mechanics, the action of it all that stuff, all that stuff is sort of secondary to the ultimate goal, which is creating like a tone for the audience to enjoy, to live in. You're just I'm a real big believer that tone is like is the thing that audiences sort of want out of a movie or a show or anything. And so finding that for our you know for the world that we were creating was a constant process of adjustment and gut checks and all that. And so I feel like we found it, and I hope audiences like it enough so that we can so that we can keep making more.
And how was it like working with your collaborator on the cinematography for House of Ninjas? Because the fight sequences, especially on the finale, were just mind blowing. So how was it like collaborating with the cinematographer on this?
Oh, it was great. My cinematographer's name is Shoji Ibara, and he's a veteran of he's a Japanese Academy Award winner, a veteran with just decades and decades of experience, and he comes from the Kyoto filmmaking tradition, which Kyoto film crews are known for doing lots of period pieces and samurai epics and that kind of thing. And he shot all kinds of things, but as somebody who grew up in the industry in Kyoto and sort of established himself there, he had a really really strong background in chambara, swordplay epics and everything like that. So that stuff is just second nature to him at this point. He's been doing it for so long. So between him and then Keiya Tabuchi, who's the action choreographer, who also has a really long history in this in the Japanese film industry, and I could, whenever I would talk about some older Japanese movie that I knew, one of them would say, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, you remember the cop on the bicycle who gets shot and falls off? That was me," or something like that. So I had a well of expertise to rely on, and they both they both were very very collaborative, and they both were very on board with the kind of classical style that we wanted to go for in this, that also had some kind of new modern touches. I mean, some of the things that we were trying to do is just create a sense of heightened perception that the ninjas have, and we did that by using split diopters and sometimes keeping the foreground and the background in focus at the same time. And Ebara-san was instrumental in making sure that we had ways to cover the action in a really really dynamic and fluid way, and also didn't ever slow us down on the day. So the action was a huge challenge and a big learning curve for me, and also just a lot of fun, just so much fun. And I'm glad you liked episode 8. A lot of that was sort of the stuff that kind of came last in the schedule, even though we were shooting actually all 8 episodes at once. So like the very last scene of the series I shot in the very first week of principal photography. But there wasn't sort of time to kind of ease into the harder stuff, like that action climax of episode 1, where they're fighting in the club. That was, I think, the third or fourth day of principal photography, and that was and so there was a lot of sort of going to the action practice and watching it together with Ibara-san to plan how we were going to shoot it. And then I drew storyboards, and then all of us, the whole team, would sort of collaborate on how do we make this better, how can we make this as interesting as possible. And then on the day, you just do as much as you can in the time that you have, but it's amazing working with just veterans who have a wellspring of knowledge like that. It's just, there's nothing like it.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us in Infamous Horror today. It's been so much fun, and congratulations on your success, and we look forward to more.
Thanks so much, AJ. Great meeting you.